Hi, and today I want to take you through Neat Pulse and the API. So what can we do with the API? There are some off-the-shelf projects that you can utilize the API for, such as Utology, Neowit, Morbit, and many others. But if you're feeling adventurous and you want to build your own API, an own dashboard, you can do that. So API is a paid-for feature as part of Neat Pulse. So you come into your settings, API keys, and there's two levels of APIs you can create, a read one or a read-write one, or even just a write one. So depending on what your needs are, you can create a different API. The documentation for the API is all published at the api.pulse.neat.no/docs. So you can come in here and see the API summary and see what's required. Now, many different ways of utilizing the API, so curl, Java, Android, JavaScript, Python, etc. I'm going to show you how to use it in Microsoft Power BI using the Web API key. So within Power BI, we want to get data from other sources. So we'll start a clean project and we want to select Other and then Web and then Connect. So we're going to connect using the Advanced method. So we select Advanced and we want to put in our URL. So our URL is made up of api.pulse.neat.no/v1/orgs and our tenant ID. So that is then discovered on here and on your top. There's your tenant ID at the top, or it's also listed up here as well, organization ID. So we need that information. And then once we have that, what we want to do, choose what we want to do. So let's say we want to get a list of endpoints. So I'll get the basic list of endpoints for an organization. So we want to add just basically endpoints on the end of our query. So you could put that as a part, or you just put it as endpoints. Now, in our HTTP header, this is where we put authorization. And then in here, we want to put in the word bearer and our API key. Now, this is going to talk to your Pulse API and produce a list of endpoint IDs, the serial numbers, what type, and all this good information. So we can close and apply. And then we'll see our data selection here. So now I can expand my endpoints. And for example, I can now build, let's say, maybe a pie chart. And within that pie chart, maybe I want the model type and value, which is the endpoint ID. So now I can see I have 188 neat frames. I have 177 neat paths. Or we can change this into a bar graph, for example. So you can pick and choose to show you what sort of split of devices you have. And then you could also do some clever things like maybe what region it's in. So add a filter for the region maybe. And you can play around with your chart types depending on what you prefer. So at a glance, you can see that. And again, if you want to refresh this data, we can just simply do that from here. Right click, refresh. This data is now up to date. And maybe let's see, we want to do another pie chart and we can see is the device in a call or not. So let's use that as our legend. And let's just select our devices. So you can see we have 619 devices not in a call. And then we have 12 in a Zoom call. And we have 1 in a Teams call. And again, when you filter on here, it's actually filtering down on which devices are on there as well. So there's lots of options you can do at Power BI. So like we saw there, you could do a chart, for example. Let's pick a stacked bar graph just so you could see which devices are connected. So we have 369 that aren't connected, but 262 are connected. So again, a lot of people's devices are offline because they may be in the home office, for example. So many different ways we can utilize the data in here on Power BI. So that's a real quick way of being able to get that data. We can also then get other data and we simply just go and get that. So we go back to Other, Web, Connect, and we choose Advanced again, and we put in the same details. So this time we may want to choose a different set of data. So that was the endpoints. So again, we could get the bulk sensor data. So this returns the most recent sensor data for all endpoints. So we can say, copy that bit there, endpoint sensor, and paste that in and grab that data. So now we have another data source of the sensor data. So simply go back to get data, Other, Web, and we pop back to our browser. And let's say we want to get a list of the room names. So I can simply get that and we can put in just rooms at the end. So now we have a list of room names, and then we could even get our locations, for example, as well. So you think about it, you could build up like a global map to see where your devices are online, offline in different regions. So again, we go to web part, and next that's saved. And now this is going to bring in all the regions as well. And then you can map data, i.e. which device and what location. So you can get a picture of that. You've got 100 neat bars in Europe, for example. So you can see our region names, etc. that have been set up. So now we have our regions here. And again, I do like good pie chart. Your region locations, maybe. So you can see there's lots of different areas, many devices, 2s and 3s and some, because again, these are a lot of home offices within Neat, for example. So many different ways you can look at this. Let's change the legend to region name, maybe. So you can now see the split of devices around the USA, EMEA, Asia. Again, depending on regions, you can then see a breakdown of how many devices there are, etc. So that is how we use Power BI with the Neat Pulse API. Any questions, don't ask me. I'm not an expert, but hopefully we can get the answers if you have any questions around this. Thanks for watching.